Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the General Government Committee meeting. It is Wednesday, July 12th. The time is 8 a.m. and we will go ahead and get started with our meeting here today. Our first order, as always, is roll call. All three council members, Joan Kathy, Leota Dolhoff, and myself are present and accounted for. And the first matter of our agenda is approval of our meeting minutes from our June 14th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. This is Leota.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilmember Dolhoff to approve the minutes, seconded by Councilmember Kathy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. So moving into our substantive portion of the agenda, our first item is the Service Provider Agreement Amendment 2 for our Tree and Vegetation Preservation Code update. Brad, I think you're going to help us walk through this.
Yeah, so thank you again. Good morning. The action that we're asking the General Government Committee to undertake this morning is to review and schedule the attached a second amendment to the service provider agreement to your City Council consented calendar for your July 18th meeting with a recommendation of approval. Just to give you an update of where we are with the process of not only the update for the tree and preservation code, but also landscape code and the street tree code. In all those cases, we have completed the first stage of the process, the community outreach, the community conversations, the gap analysis, and so forth. Staff and the consultants have completed, for the most part, drafts of the proposed code language. As we were completing that code language, we decided to also take a look at the new Washington Wildland Urban Interface Code, which is a new state requirement through the building code that will need to be adopted by the city later this year. After that, doing that analysis, it was very clear that there are going to be some significant conflicts between all three of the updates that we're working on and the new state requirements. Our recommendation is that we place those items on hold temporarily until we sort out exactly what kind of impacts that code is going to have on us, if there are going to be any changes before it formally becomes adopted at the end of October, and so forth. Helping us with this process is the Watershed Group. They are helping us work with other jurisdictions to figure out how they're dealing with it, how we could pivot perhaps with what we're proposing and make it work with everything. And this amendment is part of that process. So that's where we stand with the process. We anticipate completing the project. We just need a little more time until we get the state level requirements sorted out.
And so the amendment is essentially an extension of the date by which that work would be completed with our consultant who's helping us through this, correct? And
that's
then a modest increase in cost.
Correct. Yeah, they're handling a couple additional tasks, and they're also going to be extending the term of the agreement through the middle of next year. We do anticipate needing their services through that. At some point, I anticipate we'll be coming, well, we probably won't be going over the amount that the council will need to see, but we'll need to have a similar amendment for other consultants for the other two projects.
So is there any pushback on this latest thing by this council, or sounds like it was a committee of some kind or another?
Yeah, it's the State Building Code Council, which is responsible for updating and maintaining all the building codes in the state. What they do is they decide on what, well, first of all, they were given direction by the legislature to pursue this option back in 2019. So what they did is take that legislative direction, bring in what is known as the International Wildland Urban Interface Code, add some Washington-based amendments as part of their process, and then recommend or require adoption. So now the adoption is actually part of the WAC as part of that process. And to answer your question, yes, there has been pushback. Once we've started to figure out what actually the impact of this is, we've been talking with other jurisdictions. We've been talking with our legislative people and so forth, just to try to see what we can do to tweak this to make it work within an urban area versus, you know, more of the rural area where I think this is more applicable.
And more applicable in Eastern Washington than over here. I feel they've gone totally overboard here.
Yeah,
And I don't know where all the climate science and everything's coming in at the state level, but this is antithetical to what we're trying to do in terms of clean air and tree canopies and staying cool and all kinds of things. It's just
yeah. I don't disagree with you. I definitely think there's a difference between the hazards in Eastern versus Western Washington. Unfortunately, I think there is a level of hazard now in Western Washington that needs to be addressed. Maybe this is not to the full extent of what needs to be done over here for that.
well, it's beyond the full extent of what they put. I mean, you know, it's you know, my house is on it.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm hardly you know, in a tinderbox here, surrounded by green trees. I don't know. It's just it's just one of those things. I just thought sometimes just government does really stupid stuff. I mean, they go too far. I hope that this gets tempered or whatever it is, or they do look at the whole state and say maybe can't do a whole blanket thing. But you say there are people asking those questions or doing that kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, there's definitely
That's
others
good.
who are asking that question. We're definitely reaching out to others to try to have a coordinated response to this.
Great.
In terms of just legal jurisdiction over their ability to make binding policies, I've always been not entirely clear on the Building Code Council's jurisdictional role, but essentially they can create whatever the legislature gives them authority to create standards by which all city planning codes must abide. Is that right? Okay,
That's accurate. And actually their particular amendments for Washington and the adoption of this code becomes part of the WAC. So it has the power of state law.
so even if we enacted something ourselves that was contradictory to what they enacted, theirs would still rule and override whatever we did. And then a developer would see ours and be confused and maybe abide by ours, but they would be out of compliance in state law and subject to liability because they're out of compliance.
That's correct.
So if we don't pause, that creates pretty significant wrinkles and challenges across the board.
That's
In that
correct.
same line, so we can't be less restrictive than our WAC. Could
Mhm.
our municipal codes be more restrictive than the building code? Okay.
Yes,
just checking.
yes, they
Okay.
can. And we've also been talking with the other state agencies about our critical areas regulations, because again, that's another state requirement and how those would work with the new code. We've been told, first of all, from ecology that for our wetlands, we're going to have to make both of them work, which is going to be kind of interesting. I don't want to say they said good luck, but that's kind of the impression that I got from talking with them. We're going to have a similar conversation with the state Fish and Wildlife folks in a couple of weeks to talk about how that works for habitat. Because Gary Oaks and a bunch of other things, we see a clear conflict there. So we're going to talk with a bunch of their people in a couple of weeks as well, just to try to figure out how this is going to work.
What part does the legislature play in this?
They adopted, well, essentially, number one, they gave direction to the Building Code Council to address this issue. And then they reviewed and approved, well, excuse me, they basically instructed the Building Code Council to make the administrative changes needed to update the WACs. So the legislature that's their role in this process.
But do they have to approve this?
I believe they do, but I haven't double checked that. But that's been a question of mine as well.
Because rumor has it that they're not happy with it. They think they've gone too far.
And
think
we
they
haven't
have-
been, I apologize, Joan.
No, go ahead. Sorry. No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
we, the original adoption date was supposed to be July 1st. And so we were not necessarily surprised it was delayed because we thought, number one, the energy code is another really big thing that's going through. That could be the number reason they're pausing it, but we haven't been given a reason or even an idea of why they paused it, what they're going to deal with in the meantime. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
So is some of this also a DNR issue though? Like, isn't it DNR that comes up with the map that shows most of our city is, you know, at risk or subject to the jurisdiction of whatever this new policy is? Like, would our quandary be solved if the map was different, but the policy was the same at the building code council?
Yeah, I think you've hit the first thing we're looking at is number one, how does the mapping work with the city? The mapping that was done in 2019 and 20 by a DNR was very, very large grain. If you zoom into the city, you'll notice that, you know, it doesn't line up neatly with a lot of things. So we are actually going through an internal process right now of our own mapping based on the requirements that are in that particular code, just to see if we can revise the mapping. We have the ability to do that, demonstrating it meets the requirements of the code. So that's our first thing that we're going to be doing.
Okay. That makes sense. Joan, Leetta, do you guys have any additional questions or comments?
It's all
With this,
too,
no.
it's all too horrible to keep talking about. All the things that that cities have been striving for in the name of our climate action plan and so forth. This just burns it up in a way. It's I mean, anytime you write down, well, you're going to have less trees, less canopy, you're going to have less carbon sequestration, you're going to make it hotter, on and on. It's just ludicrous. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say.
Michael, what motion are you looking for?
I would be looking for a motion to schedule the amendment to the service provider agreement for the July 18th City Council consent calendar with a recommendation for approval.
So moved.
And I'll second it, so you don't have to, Joan, because motion by Councilmember Dalhoff and seconded by myself. All those in favor, albeit begrudgingly, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Pauline, going back up to the top of the agenda. Our next item, I know, is about our comp plan and the community engagement plan, but my agenda is taking a minute to load. But Brad, I think you and Erica will walk us through our next agenda item.
That's correct. This is basically, this is the final version of our community engagement plan for the comprehensive plan update. The Planning Commission has met and discussed this. Erica is going to walk us through the full scope of what we're going to be doing over the next couple of years. Next steps for us are basically actually doing all the work. So we've got a bunch of things coming forward. We'll be also briefing the GGC on that next part and what the big things that we have to update are, and get your input on particular items, probably in your August and September meetings.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Smith Erickson. I am working with Brad. I started back in February. You might have seen me at the City Council back in February, but it's been a while, so nice to see you again. As Brad said, we are talking about our community engagement plan for the comprehensive plan update, also known as the city plan. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys so you can see our presentation. All right, Brad, are you able to see that?
Looks great.
Perfect. All right, Brad and I worked with staff and our communications team, and we came up with a comprehensive plan update slogan, balancing nature and community, Tumwater's path to sustainable growth.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good.
What is a community engagement plan? State law requires that we establish a public participation program for updates to our comprehensive plan and development regulations. It outlines or creates a roadmap for us for how members of the community will be involved in guiding policies. A comprehensive plan articulates a series of goals, objectives, policies, actions, and standards that outline the city's vision and what it wants to look like. The community engagement plan and the IAP2 process will help the city interact with the community and stakeholders. The IAP2 is International Association for Public Participation. It's a spectrum of public participation. There's 5 levels of engagement. One is inform, which is open houses, websites, fact sheets. A second would be consult, so public comments, focus groups, surveys, and public meetings. 3 would be involve. That's where we'll have or host workshops and deliberate polling. Collaborate, which would be citizen advisory committees, community representatives, stakeholders, subject matter experts with diverse perspectives. And then there's also empower, which is citizen juries, delegated decisions, ballots. We have taken some surveys on our public engagement plan or done an evaluation. We will mostly be working with consult, involve, and collaborate. So public comments, focus groups, workshops, deliberate polling. All right, these are our 10 community engagement goals. We're going to provide information for the citizens to inform them, seek early and continuous involvement from people who care about the comprehensive plan. We will be using the IAP2 to determine specific groups, whether it's parents with the school district, it could be the tree board, it could be environmental groups with our critical areas checklist. There's 11 different elements to the comprehensive plan, so it's really going to be catered to what specific elements Brad and I will be working on and who the interested parties will be. Offer opportunities for the community to provide feedback. You know, again, those workshops, there's going to be hearings, there's going to be meetings for develop accessible, equitable, and engaging comprehensive plan. I really want to make this a fun process. I want to get more people involved. I want to meet people where they are. Equity is huge. Trying to get we want citizens to provide comments and be able to understand what a comprehensive plan is. I feel like there's not a lot of involvement from the public, so it'd be nice to reach out and try new avenues to get them involved. 5, make community-driven planning the priority. Again, a lot of feedback from what the community wants to see. This comprehensive plan update is only going to happen once every 10 years. The state law legislature just updated the requirements, so it went from every 8 years to every 10 years. So it is pertinent to get their information and feedback. highlight projects implemented since the last periodic update. Again, our last periodic update was in 2016. 7, use a flexible phased approach. Everything is going to be ever changing because there are 11 elements, and it's going to be, and also we want to work with other city sponsored events. So it's going to be a fluid process. This is more of just a roadmap or an outline of our tools that we want to utilize. Integrate and consolidate goals from all the elements of the comprehensive plan. Develop a comprehensive plan that's easy to read and in an understandable format. And rely on multiple communication strategies and tactics and platforms. All right, engaging and consulting with the community. Staff will reach out to stakeholders and stakeholder groups found in Appendix A of the staff report. Brad and I have gathered a list of stakeholders that we have for our update to the HCP, our tree and vegetation code preservation update. And then also we've worked with Planning Commission, and I've done some work with our communications team to put this list together. We will be using the IAP2 process to identify target audiences for each of the elements. And then we will be doing open houses, other events, briefings, work sessions, and public hearings will be publicly noticed per state requirements. All right, we also will be utilizing our email contact lists. Staff will maintain a list of interested members of the community. We will have a specific email address for the comprehensive plan update. Our website will have the option or the ability for people to sign up, so they will get emailed with updates, upcoming meetings, and important information along this process. We will also utilize the city's established email list, which is, I think, ran by our communications team. Throughout this process, we will keep City Council and Planning Commission up to date on our community engagement efforts. The community will be notified of meetings through our webpage. We have a specific webpage for the comprehensive plan update. Our social media, our Tumwater on ETAP newsletter, and the city email contact list. Our webpage. We do have the comprehensive plan update webpage. It's going to include a list of frequently asked questions, periodic update background and summaries, and meeting information. I had a proposal that we include a staff introduction section. So it would be maybe like a picture of Brad and I in a little bio, just because it does make it more personable. I would like to have our community engagement personable. We want to build relationships with the community. I think it's important that we let them show a little bit of our personality while keeping it professional. It's just more engaging, more personable to the public. Also, an interactive map of meeting locations and times, also visuals. And then the section on the webpage to sign up for the email notifications. Surveys. This month, or from now and through August, we are going to start sending out some surveys. Hopefully, once we have the webpage completed. The vision, goals, and policies in the existing comprehensive plan will serve as a starting point when developing survey questions. The goals of the last update were to provide more transportation choices, promote equitable, affordable housing, enhance economic opportunity, and value communities and neighborhoods. Back at the 2016 update, staff sent out a little pamphlet in the mail asking the community what they wanted to see, what their goals and visions were. There were actually 96 written responses received back. So that's kind of the basis of what we're going to start with our surveys. And social media news releases. Updates and notices of community meetings will be posted on social media platforms. This includes the City of Tumwater's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. We will work with community partners to share updates and surveys. We want to utilize maybe other departments within the city if there's something that we could like cross-reference or also join. It would be nice to have them share information about our periodic update. I do notice a lot of people within government, there's a lot of jurisdictions. You could be within the county jurisdiction and the city also, and it would be nice to kind of work with other jurisdictions or partners just for that cross-reference so we can reach more people. The city will issue news releases to advertise surveys, key open houses, and other important information. All right, open houses. Open houses will allow us to discuss and meet with the public. It's kind of a less formal than our planning commission meetings, our city council meetings. I feel like they would be more engaging, a little more intimate, and able to have discussions, answer questions, more roundtabling. The goal of these meetings is to meet people where they are, ensuring equity and diversity. I wanted to kind of plan some open houses that would cater to parents with kids who have kids in sports. They can't always make night meetings. Also, I wanted to have a request a meeting or consult with staff option on our webpage. So if HOAs or specific stakeholders, community groups wanted to meet with us, they could ask us, and then we'll kind of set up a time to meet with them to go over specific items in the comprehensive plan update or answer any questions, take comments or any concerns that they might have. The city staff will create interactive tools to engage involvement, such as charades, pamphlets, displays, and comment forms. Staff are also working with other city departments and the communications team to identify opportunities for information booths or a presence at other city-sponsored events. All right. Now we're going into the timeline. So right now we are in phase 1, which is community engagement. We are currently reviewing the vision, goals, and policies in the existing plan, and we are going to prepare a gap analysis of the comprehensive plan elements and plans. We are going to introduce a periodic update through a series of communications, such as our surveys and the launch of our webpage. Website launch date, we're hoping sometime this month or in August, and our first meeting will be in August. Phase 2, actual plan development. This will take us until the spring of 2024. Through our engagement, we will gather the feedback that we receive from the community, and we'll incorporate those into the draft comprehensive plan elements. We'll also start consulting with the Historic Preservation Commission, Parks and Recreation Commission, Planning Commission, the GGC, Public Works Committee, and City Council. All right. Also during that time, between the winter and spring of next year, focus groups of technical experts will review the comprehensive plan elements. These are not city represented technical experts. We will contact the community and continue our public engagement through a variety of engagement methods.
Can I ask a quick question about that, Erica?
Yeah.
So who are the technical experts? If it's not city boards or commissions, is that like a technical team of staff that work for the city, or partners, or folks from that stakeholder list in the appendix, or who are those folks?
It will be a mixture of, like, for example, in transportation and some of the environmental sciences will have people who either on the staff here or consulting or working with them as part of that team. So that would be the more technical things that are different from the general community direction.
Okay.
It may be
Well-
stakeholders, it may be staff, it may be consultants. So
Okay. One of the questions I had about the stakeholder list was just about how the RHC sort of fits in. Is it a partner? Is it another government agency? Maybe how it fits in is when we look for consultants for the housing element, that we consult with some of the technical team or the experts there. Because one of my goals for the RHC is that we do have some alignment of our elements of our housing plans eventually, so that we're all kind of planning from the same sheet of music, to confuse a couple different metaphors. So is that sort of who you would envision for that element, like as an example?
yeah, I think you're on the right track with that. We will not have consultant funds for the housing element, but we will use the people that we work with on the technical team at the RHC for reviewing policy for the housing element and probably some of the other related things. As you are probably aware, the state requirements have changed fairly dramatically for what we need to do for the housing element.
Yeah.
So whether or not we are part of the RHC or not, it really does fit well with what we have right now to take advantage of those opportunities. I have not had the time or the opportunity yet to sit down with the other planners at the other jurisdictions to sort of walk through how we want to present that, but I suspect that will be also on their minds as well.
Are the other jurisdictions also updating this on the same similar timeline?
Yeah, Thurston County, all the jurisdictions have the same requirements and same timeline.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So through next summer, after that, we are going to complete our draft of the plan. It will be available to the community through the webpage, social media platforms, and email contact lists. Relevant city advisory boards and commissions will develop recommendations that will be forwarded to the planning commissions. Focus groups will have an opportunity to review the work as well. So that's from the summer of 2024 to June 30th, 2025. Still in phase 3 is when we start the legislative process. That's again, summer 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Planning Commission will hold a number of work sessions to discuss the plan elements and plans. Their opportunities for joint sessions will be considered. Planning Commission will conduct a public hearing to gather community comment on the draft comprehensive plan. Before developing findings of fact, conclusions, and recommendations forwarded to the City Council. Public notice of the hearing will be published in accordance with state law 30 days prior to the date of the hearing. We will be providing noticing through the periodic webpage, social media platforms, and email contact lists. Summer 2024 through June 30th, legislative process continued. The GGC and Public Works Committee will periodically review and discuss updates of the comprehensive plan and elements. meeting dates and materials will be posted on the periodic webpage and other means that we've already discussed through the community engagement plan. The City Council will hold a number of work sessions to discuss the plan's comprehensive plan elements and plans, and the City Council will consider recommendation forwarded by the Planning Commission. Again, this is going to be over the next few years. We will be meeting frequently, but this is going to, as far as public engagement goes, we are going to have a lot of opportunities for the public to be involved, and we are going to give them plenty of noticing. And then we have comments and contact information. We will gladly accept comments at any time during this whole process. Staff will address and publish all of the formal comments received. Email contact, direct contact would be with Brad. Our periodic update email is complan@ci.tumwater.wa.us, and all documents related to the periodic update will be located on the city's webpage. Again, we're still working on that webpage. It's not officially launched yet, but it is in the works. And that concludes our comprehensive plan update, public engagement plan.
Great. Leetta, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I have a couple. So listening to Erica, thank you. That was a lot to digest. I'm wondering if I'm wondering moving forward. So we have all these slides, we have all the stuff we're doing. Could you highlight what we plan to do differently, right? Because going through these slides, it looks like the stuff we've always done, right? What are we going to do differently for engagement, right? And I say that because, you know, you did a great line of plenty of noticing. Well, we always do that, right? We always meet the requirement of the law. How do we go from plenty of noticing to sparking action for our community members to feel seen, heard, and respected? And what's in it for them to respond? So could you highlight what we're going to do differently to spark that engagement?
Well, this is my first periodic update. So I am going to let Brad give some feedback on that.
Yeah, no, that's
Nicely done, Erica. Nicely
yeah.
done.
Councilmember Dalhoff, that's a very good question, because as you're aware that we had a very extensive public engagement process for the urban forestry items. We had a decent turnout, but again, it was the same number, and the people there were there because this was a very passionate topic, either for one side or the other. We definitely are talking with a variety of different groups to try to look for other ways aside from, we have our social media, which is a little more advanced than before. But we're also we have a list of groups that are in that appendix that we're going to have to cultivate relationships with. It's not merely just the fact that we have to say, hey, we're have a meeting, come join us. We have to have conversations above and beyond just the comp plan itself. To make sure that they understand how the comp plan fits in with the other things that they have going on and how important it is that they have an understanding of that. We're still trying to figure out the best way to do that. We don't have a brilliant idea on how to do that. We are definitely talking with Olympia and the other jurisdictions because they have some things I think that have worked successfully for them. We definitely are trying to figure out the other ways. This is the other reason why Erica was asking me, how much detail do we need in the plan and how specific it needs to be for this public participation plan? And I said, well, it's not going to be final until we're done with the process. Because that's essentially what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking those general concepts and seeing how the best as we can, how to apply them. At the end of the day, we'll have our final report of this is actually how we did everything. And how we can do it differently the next time we have to do this particular thing. So I do understand and recognize your question. We have a more diverse community than we did even 8 years ago. We have a lot of new residents. And so we're definitely trying to figure out ways to engage people. my stock answer sometimes is let's do something that everybody doesn't like and we'll get the engagement. But that's not what I want to start off with. We can finish with that.
No,
but
what
I
I'm
don't-
wondering if in this, that's, well, I, normally go rogue. So yes, Brett, I connect with that on a lot of levels. I'm wondering, when you're talking about all these different groups, like in the appendix, you're really specific on the public agencies, right? There's 22 listed.
Mhm.
Yet on community members, it's so vague, right? So as we move forward, can we break it down like regarding community members who don't have internet, don't have a computer, accessibility, youth,
Mhm.
demographics of that, location wise, right? And we don't have Instagram, and I feel like I'm channeling Angela right now. Is like we want the youth demographics, but they're not on Facebook, right? So
Mhm.
when we talk about social media, can we also break down the demographics that are using each individual platform, and what would that look like moving forward, right? And then this also makes me think of trying to get a youth council on Tumwater. Is that a way, like if we're doing multiple things of engaging community with like a youth council through the Thurston County Opioid Response Task Force, or pulling in Tumwater Hopes? Or could this be another way to partner better with the school district, right? And using their platforms to engaging guardians and parents and youth. Can that be tracked somewhere of how those relationships are building? And we don't have to do everything ourselves, but if we have that rapport with another institution, maybe they can help us.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think number one, the school district is a very important one. I don't want to say it's the easiest way to get to the most people, but it is in a lot of ways. But I think all those things you mentioned are definitely things that we're going to be pursuing.
Okay.
One constraint that we do have is we do have a limited staff to put to all that. That is going to take time. So we're going to have to figure out how we can best do that and leverage what we've got to make the biggest impact.
Agreed. Thanks, Brad.
I will say, I think something we really need to do is reach out to people and explain why their opinion matters, or how they should be involved and how it affects them. Just because I know even before I was in this position, I had no idea like how the process is. Just it's a lot for your average person. It's just we're not really involved. And so it would be great for us to explain to them, inform them, educate them, and let them know that yes, their voice does matter, and there's these issues and they can make a difference if they are involved. Just really working with them, explaining to them prior to us reaching out, doing our homework and presenting it to them. We're gonna try to utilize that as much as possible.
It looks like Anne has some thoughts to share too. Anne, your hand's raised.
Oh, good morning. I'm sorry, I'm in another meeting, so I'm sneaking out in the hallway. I just wanted to tell you, we've been working with Erica, probably not as much as she would have liked on strategies while we're launching the website. But we are using the IAP2 model that was presented to council. So behind the scenes, we are breaking down the stakeholder list. And I've been pretty impressed with Erica has some really outside the box ideas about outreach that didn't make it to the PowerPoint. And those will address some of the questions around equity and age demographics. You might see her in an upcoming parade or at a farmer's market.
Did you see her face? I don't think so.
This is news.
We have a comp plan update float planned actually for next year. So
Exactly. So to not overload you with a lot of the background work, but I think this is a great opportunity for us to fully employ IAP2. And we've identified, the level of involvement and done the matrix and scored out the stakeholders. So that's just a little bit of what's behind the curtain. And with the website up, I think Brianna's going to have a full-time job working with Erica on this. So hopefully that helps answer some of your questions.
That does. That helps a lot. Thank you, Anne.
I'm going to go back into my other meeting unless you have other questions.
Thanks,
I
Anne.
think that addresses it.
Suggestions,
Thanks, Anne.
comments?
The one comment I would make is, Leonie, we were both on Planning Commission the last time we did the update. And what stands out to me in sort of the plan here for community engagement is not just gathering the feedback, but also the plan for disseminating it and memorializing it, and then making it available to the people who make those decisions, particularly on the Planning Commission on the front end, because that's so influential for how the final product looks, and making sure that that feedback is appropriately and adequately memorialized for them and summarized and provided to them to make their decisions so that they're informed by the community and by people with different, more diverse lived experiences than we or they might bring to the table. So that's the part of this that sort of feels really different to me, compared to the last time we did it, is the thoughtfulness and the intentionality for making sure that not only are we asking the questions, but then we're deploying the information we receive back into the comp plan itself so that it's shaped by that.
I have a question.
Joan?
Yeah, I too was around on council when we did the other comp plan. And one of the questions that hopefully we're answering more or differently this time is people don't understand, even when you say we're doing a comp plan, they don't know what what that is. So is this just something y'all do? Kind of a thing. I think it's important that we let people know that more what it is, define it, give an example, and how it's used. And so that your input that gets put in here gets somehow matters for a 10-year period of time. All of this is referred to. So that would motivate me more to, as a member of the community, no matter which group it is, to go, wow, you mean I have a chance to impact for the next years? They're going to be looking at this and working off of it. So my idea or my thought or my crazy idea even, maybe they pay attention to. So I don't think people know that the importance of it, how we really refer to it and use it. So somehow if we can let people know through Erica some of your new ideas, and I think that would be helpful, because I think people want to contribute to something that is going to impact or make a difference or have their voice heard.
I love that idea, right? Because it reminds me of how many times do we get people coming to us with a challenge, a complaint, or concern, and we're like, I wish you would have gone to this commission. I wish you could have done the comprehensive element, right? So you're really telling them this is a way to like shape our future together, because by the time it comes to council, right, it's too late for the change. But if you could frame it like shape our future with us, right? Because it's our future. It's a little bit like of a civics education as well, right? Of like all the steps to be heard.
Yeah.
That's a good point, John.
Thank you. Still early.
Well, we don't have any action needed today. I think this was just a briefing and an opportunity to provide feedback and comment. But with that in mind, did either of you have any other last minute thoughts or comments or questions on what was presented?
I think framing it, knowing that we're always going to ask about what we're doing differently, to maybe showcase that and not more attention on what's new and different versus standard baseline abiding by the law, because we know we already do that. So I think that's what I would ask for moving forward.
Okay.
And then a quick update for your next meeting, we'll be coming back to you to present sort of the overview of what the required update elements will be. Give you a sort of a laundry list of the 14,000 pages of guidance that has come out from the state on every item.
It's gonna be amazing.
It will be amazing. I will expect you to have read all of it
Every
before the meeting.
page.
Every page.
I'm gonna
'cause
make
we're-
notes for you, Brad, hard copy, and then put it in your mailbox.
Just as an example, I think they published a 100-page guidance manual for what we need to do just for the new climate element. So I can't wait to try to figure out what we need to do. But that would be our intent, is to sort of give you, okay, if you have questions, here's where you start to look for the information. And here's how we're going to be rolling through this with the planning commission and the open houses and all that kind of stuff in this coming next 6 months.
Doesn't sound like it's a bestseller.
It has really colorful
It'll
graphics.
sell a lot of copies though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every city's gonna get a couple. Yeah. Well, I think that wraps our substantive part of the agenda, unless Brad, are there any additional items you have to share? Okay. Well, I think with that, we are adjourned 9 minutes early. Thanks everyone for your time this morning and your attention. See you next time.
Yeah.